Hilton Head Island. It sucks here. I'm going to discuss 18 points that you need to consider before moving here. Number 1 on the list. Do you need a job? You know, so many people want to move to the beach. The employers just don't have to pay very much. Plus, there's not much in the way of industry here, so good jobs are limited. Now, of course, if you want to work in food and beverage, plenty of opportunities there. Number 2, cost of living. Hilton Head Island is 22.1% higher than the national average. So if you want to live here, it's going to cost you a little bit more than most places in the country. Number 3, we're running out of dirt. And nothing's going to get cheaper here anytime soon. So buyers and renters are forced to go to the mainland to find more affordable housing and maybe even to the next county over. I hope you're sitting down. As of yesterday, looking back 6 months, the average price for a single family home on Hilton Head Island was a little bit north of $1.4 million. And that is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath with a little over 2,800 square feet. And I don't think prices are going to go down anytime soon because of demand. I'm Carl Kratz, a local broker and realtor since 2009, and I've been living here since 1996, and we've been coming down here since the early 80s, so I've seen a lot of things change, and I'm ready to share my knowledge with you. So don't be bashful, call me up and pick my brain. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're getting something out of this video. And if you're finding this helpful, consider subscribing for more content. And I love to hear from both sides. You know, I don't care if you want to say something negative. We're all trying to learn here. Number 4, insurance. Hilton Head is on a barrier island, so wind and hail will be more expensive here compared to the mainland. And don't forget, this is the Lowcountry, so flood insurance is important to have, whether you're in a zone that doesn't require flood insurance or you're paying cash. I mean, why not protect your investment, just in case? Number 5, age of the residents. You know, back when I first moved here in the 90s, I used to think there were only 2 kinds of people that were here. People that are 18 and people that are 80. Now that has changed a lot, and there are more millennials and a broader balance of all different ages. But compared to major metropolitan areas, there's definitely a skew towards retirees here. So if you're on the younger side, and I just think it's just going to mean you're going to have fewer people to socialize with, and I want you to think about that. They do roll the streets up a little early here. So again, if you want to go out and exercise your freedom to enjoy yourself, your opportunities are going to be a little bit more limited compared to some larger metropolitan areas. I think the restaurants are good here, but if you're a real foodie, you might be disappointed. While we have some cultural influences and other nationalities represented with our ethnic food choices, I do think we are limited. Number 7, service. I would say by and large, people do work hard here, but just like everywhere, finding help can be challenging in the service businesses, and because of that, I would say that service can be spotty from time to time. Now, I do remember back in the 90s going through a McDrive-thru, and I was trying to place my order, and the employee said, "Honey, wait a second, I'm on the phone, I'll be right with you." And you know, that time I wanted to take my hands and grab her neck. You know, I know that's not very nice, but I just wasn't used to that. Number 8, COVID restrictions. I would say that if that really bothers you, that you need to know, because there are a lot of people here that either don't wear masks or don't wear them maybe as much as they should. So just something to keep in mind. Number 9, the traffic here, especially in the summer and on Saturdays when the timeshares are swapping out. I personally think the traffic isn't that bad. You could have an accident on Highway 278. We don't have that many alternate routes. You know, after living here, you will learn a few. But we basically have one major thoroughfare going through the island and off island. It can be a problem, but I personally don't think it's a huge problem. It's been brought to my attention on more than one occasion, so I think I need to mention it. Number 10, a lack of seasons. If you're someone that likes to see the deep oranges and reds in the leaves in autumn, you're not going to find it here. I'm not saying that we don't have any trees that do that, but by and large, the trees that are here, typically the leaves just kind of, they die and fall off. So if you want that nice fall flavor, I would suggest traveling to the mountains, because because you're just not going to get it here. Although I will say that September, October is a wonderful time to be here. There aren't as many tourists, and it's usually still warm enough that you can go swimming in the ocean. Speaking of warm weather, it's hot here, and you can say whatever you want, even with the coastal breezes. It's not unusual to go outside in the morning to be greeted by 80 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning. And you know, I think this is a little kind of funny on a side note. When it flurries here, the kids typically get out of school. Number 12, which is part of 11, but I think hurricanes justify a separate point. So let's talk about this. The good news is you get plenty of notice if a hurricane's coming, so you can get out of Dodge. And you have insurance, so you're protected. Now, can it be a hassle? Sure. I try and think of it as a vacation, so that way you're just having a good time. And honestly, in the 25 plus years that I've been here, I haven't evacuated more than a half a dozen times, so it really hasn't been that bad, but I think it's something that you should know. Now, here's the next thing that I think is really important about the likelihood of getting hit directly with a hurricane here. It's less likely. So if you look at where the Gulf Stream runs up the coast, it's a little further off the coast. You're talking 80 to 100 miles off the coast, which is bad if you're fishing to get to that better water. But what happens is those hurricanes track that warm Gulf water, and if they don't curve into Florida and hit Florida, most of the time they tend to just bypass us and go right up the East Coast. Number 13, sports. If you don't like golf or tennis, your options are a little bit more limited. Plus, if you're looking for a pro sports team, there aren't any close by. But I will say is that I did meet my wife here playing adult co-ed soccer, and we've been married since 2003. Number 14, the walkability of Hilton Head. It is not a very walkable town. There's no downtown, so you really do need a car to get around. Of course, you can go walking on the beach, but to get around realistically, you do have to have a vehicle, and the public transportation is really limited. Number 15, if you want to live in one of our gated communities, which make up a large part of the housing options here, you're gonna have to follow rules. Number 16, bad drivers. I would say that if you live on Hilton Head, the insurance is higher than it is versus, let's say, the mainland, and even cheaper if you go on out to Jasper County, the next county over. That's a solid indication that the drivers on Hilton Head aren't as good. Now, you hear people saying that how bad the Buckeyes are that are around here, but honestly, I don't think that's it. You know, I would chalk more up to the vacationers that are here and maybe some of the older retirees that maybe it's time to consider not driving. In any case, people have mentioned bad drivers here, so keep that in mind. Number 17, wildlife. And the first thing I want to talk about are bugs. You know, they're here year-round. We have palmetto bugs here, so if a state names a bug after the state, then that probably is a good indication that there are a lot of bugs around here. I mean, they like the warm weather. So that's just something to keep in mind that is an issue. Now, you can get screening to protect yourself if you want to be out on your patio, but it is a part of life here. We do have alligators here. And if you have a lagoon, any sort of fresh water, that even if there isn't an alligator in there, it's only a matter of time before there will be one. So keep that in mind. Also, snakes. We have a variety of poisonous snakes. Copperheads are probably the biggest. So that's another thing you need to be careful about. And whether it's alligators or snakes, what I'll say is they're typically just as afraid of you as you are them. So if you keep your distance, that usually is going to work most of the time. Where there's a problem is when people feed, for example, alligators, and then they lose their fear of people, and that's when bad things happen. Or like if you're a golfer and you hit a ball over in the cattails and you go to retrieve it and there's a gator there and you surprise each other, that is not going to end well. Just always be mindful that they're around and you should be fine. Finally, number 18, my personal favorite, taxes. Who doesn't love taxes? So if you buy a house here and it's your primary house, you're going to pay approximately 0.5% of the purchase price. So that on $1 million is $5,000. And here's the thing, if it's not your primary home, you're going to rent it out, or the second home, you're here less than 6 months out of the year, then you're going to pay a little bit north of 1.5%. So on $1 million, that's over $15,000. So it's not quite in New York City taxes, but it's starting to get up there, and my guess is that you're trying to get away from taxes. And I just think that's something that everyone should know if they're moving down here. You might want to consider watching some other videos either about Bluffton or Beaufort, and if you check the link above, you can watch them right now. I hope you found this video helpful, and even with all the negatives that I brought up, I really consider myself blessed to be here, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. Thanks for watching. Call me.